Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. If you enjoy these videos, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Our first story of the day is by Stretch Armstrong. I denied a cop the bathroom code at Subway. So I was working at Subway a few years ago, and a man came in with his wife and 2 children. I had all 4 sandwiches started when the man asked me for the code to the bathroom. The policy was that you had to make a purchase to get the bathroom code, but by the way he was doing the potty dance, it was pretty apparent this guy needed to go. Obviously, either he or his wife will pay for the 4 sandwiches I've already started. The next day, my boss sits me down and lectures me about how the code is on the receipt for a reason. She watched the tape and saw me give the man the code and tells me, "I don't care who it's for, whether it's your friend, family, whatever, you name it, you do not give the code under any circumstances." Later on that night, I was working by myself when some guy in a trench coat and greasy long hair came in the side door and said, "Hey man, somebody seriously got messed up outside." A long line of customers waited for me while I subtly grabbed the bread knife, sharp as freak, and went around to check. It wasn't the best part of town, so you never know with people. Anyways, as Trenchcoat Man stated, somebody was seriously messed up outside. His face was all bloody and he was just a mess. I called 911 and went back to making sandwiches. Sometime later, a few cop cars and an ambulance showed up. They were doing their business outside, and then one of the officers comes in and asks for the bathroom code. Like 6 hours earlier, my boss told me not to give it under any circumstances without a purchase. I laughed a little and told him what I told all the other customers. "I'm sorry, you have to make a purchase first. You can get a cookie, which is so and so cents, and it'll be on the receipt." He didn't realize the laugh was really at myself and how awkward of a situation he unknowingly put me in, nor did I have a chance to explain it before the laugh and the rejection of the bathroom code caused the cop to become straight up furious. He gives me 3 warnings to give him the code. Each time I tell him I'm not going to give it to him, and the customers are on my side telling him I'm just doing my job. After his 3rd warning, he shook his head and muttered, "I can't believe you're interfering with an ongoing investigation." And he uses the walkie-talkie on his shoulder to get some information. About 5 minutes later, one of the cops handed me a phone. I answered, and my manager said, "Are you freaking serious?" Long story short, the cop got the bathroom code and a free bag of chips. I say that manager can be as mad as they want to, but OP was completely justified in what they did. If you were kind of reamed by your manager and they said, "Don't give the code to anybody that doesn't pay," and then a cop comes in asking for the code, would you give it to them? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by Iru Aluvatar. When an immutable object meets an unstoppable idiot. I was working on a tool to display and interact with a complete history of changes to certain data in one of our internal tools. Anytime a person edited said data, a new entry needed to be added which described the exact change made. This was mostly being done for internal auditing purposes, but also had to be able to completely reproduce the exact data values from scratch by basically applying all changes up to a given point to a blank data entry. This was a legal requirement for this tool in order for it to meet government auditing requirements. This effectively means that these entries couldn't be changed ever, and were this immutable. We're nearly ready for launch, the tool works, is tested, and we're showing it to the higher-ups to get final launch approval. Now, one of the people in this meeting was a relatively new VP who had been there just long enough to ask stupidly dangerous questions, and who was trying to start to flex their decision-making muscles. This is where the trouble starts. The VP pipes up, "So, how do you delete an entry?" I, visibly confused, say, You can't, since..." The VP interrupts, "Users need to be able to undo accidental changes. I'm not approving this until they can delete entries." I say okay, but if they can delete entries, we can't reproduce the data from them since you... The VP interrupting again says, "I don't want to hear excuses, just get it done." Cue malicious compliance. I tell them I'll add it and quickly end the meeting. I go back to my desk and quickly implement a remove button. When clicked, this button shows a spinner for a random amount of time between 1 and 10 seconds before showing an error to the user explaining that the operation failed and that they'll need to manually make their changes to the data directly. I even included a direct link to open up the data editor for them and everything. I also added a file bug link which would indeed file a bug for the user, but which automatically added both the legal department and the VP to the bug. However, for me and anyone on the dev team, this button would simply hide the entry from the display immediately, but would never actually delete anything. I scheduled another review meeting for the next day. The VP's happy, my manager's happy, all is good, and the tool gets launch approval. As people start using the tool, the VP and legal departments start getting slammed with high priority bugs for this feature. The legal department, who were not in the approval meeting as they were located elsewhere, are furious that this feature exists and shuts the tool down until it's removed, and sends some very strongly worded emails to the entire team, including the VP, that such a feature is legally dubious at best and downright defeats the purpose of this tool. I remove it within a couple hours, and everything winds up getting back on track. The best part was that I got a project completion bonus, a bonus directly from the VP for implementing the feature so quickly before legal found out, and then a bonus from legal for removing it so quickly. Unfortunately, it seemed that the VP still wanted to flex their power, as a few days later they called me in asking to add a feature allowing people to edit entries. I told the VP we could absolutely do that, but I wanted to get approval from legal first. They did not approve. VP stopped trying to make changes after that. I definitely don't blame OP for not wanting to rock the boat at all, but it does feel like OP did kind of just let the VP go ahead and do whatever they want without any kind of a challenge until legal stepped in at the very end. I guess in the end, it's just easier to let the VP fall on their butt rather than try and fight it and deal with that drama. This next story is by Smashmouth Girl. I only want a battery. I work for an insurance company as a phone repair technician, mostly cracked screens, but we work on all sorts of issues, including batteries. Even though I work for an insurance company, I'm not exactly fond of the whole concept of insurance, and I'll almost always side with the customer as much as I can, especially since my position is entirely up to my discretion. Someone comes into the carrier store I work out of and asks to speak with a tech from the back. Not the usual routine, but it's no problem. I go out to talk to him, and he starts telling me, I've been paying insurance for the 2 years I've had this phone, I want a new battery. Now, cell phone batteries do start to wear out roughly around 2 years depending on usage and charging habits, so I say, okay, can I take a look? He gives me his phone and I take a look at his settings and battery usage. Remember, I do believe that his battery is worn by this time and warrants replacement. But I also noticed his screen has severe burn-in. Think old school TVs that have an image permanently burned from leaving it on too long. And this can take a toll on his overall battery life experience. I point out the screen burn to him and he rudely interrupts me. Look, I'm not buying a new phone, I've been paying insurance, I want a new battery. I say that's fine, I'm not telling you to buy a new phone, I'm a tech, not a salesperson. I absolutely could not care less if he bought a new phone or not. I keep trying to explain with, well, the burn-in happens when the screen timeout is set for too long, and that can also result in more battery drain. He interrupts again with, listen to me, I'm an engineer, I have network certifications, I know these batteries can be replaced, all I want is a new battery. I ask, so just the battery then? He says yes. So I replace the battery. What he didn't realize was that I was trying to explain how his screen burn-in happened, how he can avoid it in the future, and that I was going to replace his screen as well as a new battery. But hey, all he wanted was a battery. I kind of get the sense that this guy had some kind of bad experience before or something like that. Either that or they just had a bad attitude to begin with. One might be able to argue that OP could have been like, I'm not trying to sell you anything, I'm just trying to give you a heads up, blah blah blah. But with the attitude and how dead set they were, it's not their job to fight that. Our next story is by Bob CBX 1000. It is a vehicle. Working for a company in a sales role, so a company vehicle was a requirement for the position. The car of choice was up to the individual salesperson, and we were given free rein to purchase a vehicle within a set budget. We had a budget with the wording to the effect of £2,000 limit for the purchase of a company vehicle. Shortly after I purchased my company vehicle, got the claim refunded, etc., the wording of the requirement for future vehicles changed to £2,000 limit for the purchase of a company car. I was the only person there to ever have a company motorcycle, and it was wonderful. I can just imagine the company lawyers poring over this document like, there's something we must be able to do here. There's gotta be some kind of precedent established. This next story is by Dusty Bronco. I don't want your help if you can't find my name. I used to work tech support for a very niche program used by school districts in a few states. Given the importance and privacy of our software, we had a list of each school district, along with a full list of everyone we were allowed to speak to. If I couldn't identify the caller on this list, I couldn't assist them, and we would need to pause to start an effort between my department and their school to rectify the info. 99.9% of callers knew this process and would patiently identify their school, themselves, and then wait for us to clear them before proceeding. One day, I received a call from a woman that I couldn't identify on the list. Their district had a huge list, but I wasn't getting any hits for her first name. I let her know this while I continued to look. "What do you mean you can't find my name? I should be on there." I say, "Sorry ma'am, I'm double checking it as we speak." She says, "If you can't find my name, then I don't want your help." This really wasn't a threat to me, as every call we got would usually involve looking deep into regulation while still hitting a daily calls answered metric, maintaining a low average talk time, and knowing that the wrong answer could get a school district sued, and by extension, our office. This lady didn't realize it, but given I already answered the call, her hanging up would be the nicest thing she could do. So I told her the truth. After looking some more, I still couldn't find her. She got angry and hung up. I kicked back and enjoyed the 2 minutes before my next call. Epilogue: she called back a few weeks later. I placed her on hold and asked a coworker. Turns out there was a data entry bug where her name in our system started with a comma, so it got totally screwed up in the searching and sorting. Nobody bothered to report it or fix it. She was audibly happy that I found her name in our system this time, and we went on to have a totally normal call. In retrospect, I can understand that it would be upsetting if you expect this kind of personalized service, but are the only one who the company doesn't know. If I knew then what I know now, I would have created a ticket to fix that. But I was a fresh tech and didn't want to risk making other departments cranky by giving them less necessary work. I left the job a few months later. I couldn't take the anxiety of answering gray legal questions in a high-risk, high-pressure environment for extremely low pay anymore. I now work somewhere much better for my mental health while making more money. I get why if you're expecting maybe a personalized service and you're expecting your name to be on the list, that it not being there would upset you. But I don't see how that equates to somebody going, "Fine, I don't even want your help anyway." Rather than just like, "Well, is there some kind of error, or can you research if my name's missing?" You know, something reasonable. And our final story of the day is by blah blah 6712. The math checks out. In the mid-aughts, I came into an employment arrangement with a Boy Scout camp. Said camp had just built a new wooden climbing tower, and administration became aware of the fact that any structure over 50 feet tall was required to have a flashing red strobe. A regulation, FAA or something. I'm not sure what it is, so just trust the guy that shows up in the comments to correct me. They measured the tower and got a figure of 52 feet. Funds are tight, and that kind of crap can eat into a budget fast, so we piled 3 feet of mulch around the base and called it good. That sounds like 1000D chess to me. They're like, "Oh crap, we can't afford to pay for this light that's flashing on top of this structure. What are we gonna do?" Well, the answer is simple. We'll just make the ground higher. That is the solution we've decided to settle for. Absolutely brilliant. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel, and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.